Hello and welcome to GHAA's Meet the Artist series. I am Joan Turner. I am also the bookkeeper for the GHAA, which is the Greater Haverhill Art Association. And we're a nonprofit org, and we have lots of very cool artists. And you're going to meet one of them right now. And you can learn more about us in general by going to haverhillartassociation.org, or if you want to do it really easy, ghaa.art. So again, our Meet the Artist series, we like to introduce people to our awesome artists. And you, Miss Deborah Shirley, wait till you see her artwork. You absolutely love it, love it. So hello, Miss Debbie. How are you tonight?
I'm good, Joni. Thanks for
Very.
having me.
You are so welcome. I think this is like so awesome. It really gives people a chance to know the artists who, not only doing the art, you're on the board and you do a lot of cool stuff besides your art. Okay, so, and when people see that, they are going to be absolutely amazed. So, of course, the first thing we all want to know is how'd you get interested in that? How long have you been doing it? All that good stuff. Did you start like my mother said to me, as soon as I could hold a crayon, she said, you started drawing all over everything, which she didn't sound happy about it. I thought it was good.
Typical answer, as long as I can remember.
As long as I can remember.
I've always wanted to enjoy drawing, always enjoyed, anything having to do with art. I had a grandmother who was an artist, so I
Nice.
got exposed to it young and can remember her trying to teach me.
Well, I was just going to ask you that. Was she like a mentor to you? Did
Um,
someone sit with you and kind of draw? See, no one did that. No one did that with me. I just kind of harassed everyone until they gave me what, gave me
well,
what I wanted.
only when I was really, really young. I can remember when I was really young, sitting with my grandfather, coloring in coloring books. When he used to come over on Sundays for a Sunday brunch, and we would sit there and color. And it actually was a really good memory for me. I mean, I was probably only 5 or 6 years old, but I can remember one day he was coloring in a coloring book, and he made it was a donkey. He made the donkey pink, and he made the sky green, and he made the grass blue. And I remember saying to him, Grandpa, you can't do that. That's not what color the grass is. That's not what color donkeys are. And he said to me, you know what? It's your crayons, it's your world. You can
That's
do
right.
whatever you want, whatever you can imagine,
I
you
love it.
can do it.
I love
So
it. I love it. I teach also, and I have some students that are children, and they're very uninhibited. They come in and they're like, I'm going to make a purple sun. And I'm like, go right for it. I like that idea. I might copy it. And when you have adult students, they think, even if they've never painted before in their entire life, they think it should come out absolutely perfect because they're adults. Kids make a mess and they absolutely love it, and their
yeah.
work is so free and stuff. I have a 7.5 month old niece. So I got her some of those big chunky crayons and I'm holding them
Yeah.
in her hand and we do that. And so she's less interested in drawing than she is in trying to eat them. You know what I mean? So I'm like, no, no, don't put them in your mouth, honey. Don't put them in your mouth. And her mother's looking at me like, oh my God. And I said, hey, I have a plan. I said, I have a plan, chocolate chips, art, and a ukulele. What else does this child need?
There you go. That's all the good
Yeah,
things in life.
that's right. That's right. So, so no mentor, you were just a natural artist. And I think that is what happens. We're interested from way back when, and you had your grandfather kind of inspired you and kind of let you know that you were the creator and you could do whatever the heck you wanted to.
Yep.
So that was part of a learning process. So did you, when you were in school, grade school, all of that, were you interested? Did you take art courses?
I had a little bit through school, just normal school classes. I didn't have anything outside of there. Our high school had very limited art classes. I was real interested in going into commercial art, but at the time it was a VOTEC program, and you couldn't do VOTEC and go to college then. It was one or the other.
Or the other? Right,
So I
right.
knew I wanted to go to college. So I just took the couple of classes my high school offered, but I really enjoyed it. And when I went to college, I went to a liberal arts college, and I didn't plan on majoring in art. I went for communication arts because I was planning on going into TV or radio. And this was another like big moment. I took a couple art classes just because I enjoyed them, and I had a drawing teacher, and she was actually not even a professor. She was an instructor that was a grad student at the school. But the way she talked about art, there was something very spiritual about it. There was something very intellectual about it. Um, it changed everything. It made me realize what it was to be an artist and have it be part of your life as opposed to just, oh, I like to draw, and
Yeah,
she
I
gave me
agree with that.
stuff to read, with the writings of artists to read and things like that. And that was like a big moment to me that changed a lot.
It makes you realize. Now this a question I ask people. When did you realize that you were good? Now I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but when I was in high school, I took art and I had this really weird art teacher. All really good artists are weird. Okay. So when people call me weirdo, I go, oh yeah, thank you, But so he would come into art, and sometimes he would actually teach us, and other times he would just sit over in the corner and play his guitar. So one day he was doing that, and as he was playing, I'm painting along. I was doing these ocean waves, and then before I knew it, he was standing behind me, and he said, "I really like that." He said, "Would you sell it to me?" Now, I mean, I was like 14, 15, and I'm like, "You really? You want to buy it?" I said, "Ah." I said, "Just the fact that you want to buy it," I said, "means more to me than any money you can give me." But it was that was kind of a little bit of a turning point. It made me realize that other people enjoyed looking at the art as well. Did you have a moment like that? When did you realize that, yeah, okay, I'm not bad at this. I'm pretty good.
I don't know. I won a contest in high school kind of thing, so then you realize people are paying attention. It was never, there was always somebody that was better. So I never really felt like,
That's good though, because it made you
yeah.
work harder.
Oh yeah,
No one's better than you now.
that's not
That's for
true at
sure.
all.
I had Eddie. I did a sketch of Cinderella and brought it to a yard sale, and someone gave me $1 for it. And I thought, okay, I'm a real artist now because someone paid me for my artwork.
There we go.
There you go. So GHA Art Association. Do you belong to other ones as well, or
I
this is
do. I
you
I
do?
actually belong to a lot of them. I
I was wondering, you know so much about everything. I'm like, okay, she's into everything. What are some of the other ones that you belong to, my dear? You can say them. Of course,
okay,
GHA is the best,
of
but of
course it is. Of course it is.
course.
Local ones I belong to GHA, Newburyport Art Association, C Arts, which is out of Gloucester, and juried local ones I belong to Rockport Art Association and Marblehead in
So
New Hampshire.
explain to people what a juried show is. For those who do not know, what's a juried show? How do you get in?
Well, the like Rockport, Marblehead in New Hampshire that I'm part of, you you go through a jurying process. They tell you a certain number of pieces of art that you bring in, and it's a blind jury. You're not there. They don't know who's brought the art in, and each art association does it differently.
Yeah.
But they have their own criteria, and they decide you're in or you're not. And some are easier, and some are harder to get into. And like
Is that
Rockport,
stressful?
yes,
That's
it's
stressful?
very stressful. And Rockport, the first year I tried to get in, I didn't get in, but they offered a critique that you could
Oh,
go and
okay.
hear some of the people from the jury, and they had looked at what they said about the art, and it was brutal. It like took me back to
Gee, thanks a
college.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it
yeah,
was
yeah.
it was really good. It was good.
Yeah.
So
They they
it's a
say
good
that.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you know what? You can't show your work and have a thin skin because
Yes,
People are very happy to tell you when they like it, but they're also very happy to tell you what they don't like about it. You know
exactly.
what I
Yes,
mean? You look at them like, well, who asked you? You know, go away. You know.
yeah,
But yeah, you can't have it. But I think, I think a good critique is meaningful. If
yeah.
someone says, well, gee, it could have had a little bit more contrast or it could have done this, that, I think that can be helpful as long as they're not just kind of like, well, it looks kind of amateurish. What'd you do that for? When you
Well,
get those,
I did have one of those too, but yeah,
yeah, see, so that's the part where it's like, okay, you could have left that part out, you know?
yeah. No,
Yeah.
one person on the jury said, "Well, there was an obvious lack of talent," and I'm like, "Okay."
No way, no way. Oh, I think I would have slapped him or her into a coma. Yeah, that's a little over the line there. That's a little over the line.
But
So
but like you said, you can't have a thin
you
skin.
cannot have a thin skin. People are very vocal about what they like and what they don't like. You know?
Yeah. And
So
I do a fair amount of juried shows in general, and it's the
yeah,
same
you
kind
do.
of thing, and it's very subjective. So you could enter the same piece in 5 different shows, and it might win first prize in one show and not even get into another show.
and,
So
and lack whatever in
yeah,
another show, right?
yeah.
That's very true. That's very true. One of my students said to me, how come, this person won a ribbon and mine didn't win anything? Obviously, mine's a lot better. So I'm looking at him like, okay, now how do you say this to the student and not be kind of a jerk about it? So I said to him, he said he felt that the judge picked that particular piece because she liked the subject matter better. And I said, well, that probably does have something to do with it. I said, it's hard not to. I said, but if you have two pieces that are technically correct and wonderful, and they both deserve to be first place, guess what? You can choose the one you like. I said, so there is some of that goes on. I said, but she also felt that she was technically proficient, which I didn't want to really hear, but I felt, try to be tactful but truthful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is for anyone who has seen your artwork, this is a Dumbola question. But where do your inspirations come from, Miss Debbie?
Well, a lot of my work now is signs and buildings.
Signs in buildings. How
Yeah.
signs in buildings? What's the attraction there? I look at those and I'm like, I see them all the time. I don't know if I would have thought to draw or paint them.
See, that's it exactly. It's stuff you see all the time and not really think about. What started it, I started with the signs. I After college I was in the printing industry. I grew up in the printing industry. So
Wow.
I have always had a love for typography and lettering. So that's how I started with the signs. And my first I guess I was attracted to neon and kind of mid-century older signs and the lettering. And my first idea was to zoom in close and kind of abstract it, that it was be about the shapes and the letters and the shadows and the lighting and that kind of thing, and not about what the sign actually said. Um,
Okay.
so that's kind of what I started with. And then what I was found really interesting was that people were really interested in the signs themselves, because all of a sudden they were like, oh my God, I remember that place, oh, I've been there, or my grandmother used to take me there every Sunday.
Yeah,
And
nostalgic. It
yes,
it it brings emotions out of people.
so it became majorly about nostalgia, and even my still lifes tend to be nostalgic subjects. So that I guess that's where I'm at these days. But
And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool because that's exactly what it is. You look at them and you go, "Oh, that makes me remember this," or
uh,
it gives you a warm feeling, or "Okay, I should not have gone there with that person." Yeah,
yeah,
there's always there's always an emotion attached to it.
yeah,
Can we see some? Can you
sure.
show us some? Yay.
I will show you some pieces. Um,
Are these some of your favorite pieces?
I don't- I just did a little bit of a range.
Oh,
I
okay, cool.
it's like choosing your favorite child. I
Oh,
I kind of feel
yeah,
like
you're
I
being deep
can't.
yoga, mama.
Well, like one day something I really like, and then the next day I look at it, I'm like, oh. what did I see in that? So um,
I love it. I love it.
it's different all the time. So if I can
Oh,
figure this out correctly, we will share.
oh, nice, nice. Yes. Okay. Now see, that looks like a photograph. That does not look like. I'm gonna put my glasses on. So,
So these are all acrylics,
oh, they are. Okay.
and sometimes I work on canvas and sometimes I work on board. This is an example of one of the closer up kind of things.
Is this a canvas or a board?
This one's on canvas.
Okay, so board, is it a canvas board or is it wood? What is a board?
It's a wood panel.
Oh, it's a wood panel.
Yeah. Now
Okay.
this is one of the first kind of close up ones I did going
This is
moving.
awesome.
And
New
like
room.
and this is on wood panel so you can see that it's smoother. You know what I mean? You don't get
Yeah. Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
texture.
That that looks so 3D. Like I said, it looks like a photograph. And I have to tell you, whenever I see pictures that have telephone poles and wires in them, I like leave them out. But I have to say, seeing them in there makes it look very real. Your
Oh,
work has a lot of realism to it.
well, I've got one here with the telephone poles. I think I do. Wait 1 second. Let me see if I can find it
Yeah,
for
there's two
you.
here and all those wires.
Give me a second
There's a lot of
here.
perspective in these pictures.
I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Why I try to find the right file. Um, yeah, the perspective is tricky. Um,
How do you figure out the perspective?
you
Do you need
know,
a do you need a minute to look for it?
yeah, give me 1 minute to look for it.
Okay, all right, let's just do okay. All right, now we see it.
Now you want to talk about telephone poles.
That's a telephone pole. And look at look at those wires. Oh my God.
But there was just something about those wires.
I what?
I'm not
I-
sure, but
Just the way, you know what is
it
when I look
bisects
at
the
that,
space.
I think of people talking. Like there's a whole bunch of people talking and there's energy going back and forth along all those wires.
It was definitely about the connections and the intersections.
Wow.
I don't know. It became all about the wires.
I yes, and most people avoid them. And you made a piece of artwork out of them. And that light is amazing. There's actually a highlight in there. Yeah, you're very good, my dear. So
Oh, thank
this
you.
is oh, beauteous. Now these are acrylics, right?
These are acrylic. I also do food every year. I do a bunch of stuff from the farmers market because
Nice.
I'm really into my local farms.
Oh my God. Yeah,
Um,
these are awesome. Nice.
and then I think I have a couple here that are a couple more food, I guess. Then back to nostalgia. My
Ah,
still lifes have no nostalgia. I can't say it. Nostalgic subject matter as well.
they do indeed.
This is actually a photo album that my husband's grandmother made for his mother, I believe.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? You're talking about nostalgia, right? The,
Yeah.
the book that it's in, I I still have one of those. And
Yep.
it's like where you pull the sheet back and stick them on the page. It looks just like that. And
Exactly.
and it does have discoloration around the edges because it's old. So
Yep.
it really is a very nostalgic piece.
Well, what was funny too is my husband's aunt was looking at this and she recognized her mother's handwriting,
Oh my God.
which I
Yeah,
really
that's
wasn't
right. You got
expecting.
to do that too.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting that.
That must have been added plus, right?
It definitely
Nice,
was.
nice. That is totally awesome. Okay, so do you have all do you sell prints? I know you sell cards. What if people are interested in buying them? Are they all for sale?
Um, I sell everything.
That's good.
Debbie Shirley.com is my website.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I also sell small prints for the signs and buildings because those, a lot of people like those.
Yeah,
And I'd like to have something available that's not very costly. So,
yeah,
um,
especially in these times, affordable is good. Affordable is good.
so I sell a lot of prints that are matted to 8 by 10. You can find them. There's a link on my website. I sell the prints on Etsy, but the
Oh,
originals
cool.
are on my website.
The originals are on the website.
Hmm.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Do you ever sell the originals? But
Yes,
you'll sell the originals.
I sell
So
everything.
yeah, I was just gonna say, something, artists all the time, even in my own art room, there's art everywhere. And so it's like, if you're not selling it or you're not giving it away as a gift, what are you gonna do with it? Do you know
Right.
what I mean? And I mean, I like to have a copy for myself for sure, but I actually think it means more to me if someone likes it enough to actually display it, buy it, whatever. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Well, this is
So.
what I do too. So that,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, that's how you make your living.
that's how I make my money.
Yep, yep,
So,
me too, me too. Teaching, teaching and selling. If I had to live off of the selling part, not so much, not so much. That whole starving artist thing, I'm definitely not starving. However, okay. So your ideas and inspirations come from signs and all of that cool stuff. So, what's the most fun for you in creating the art? Like, what's the fun stuff? What's the not? Like, do you have like a favorite part? Or like sometimes I'll do a picture, and to me, the favorite part is putting on the little details afterwards. Do you have like a fun part and not as much fun? Yeah,
um, it kind of depends. I get impatient with the prep work, like when I have to like gesso panels and stuff like that. I get very impatient. I want to get in there and start painting. I don't want to do that part. Other times I have tons of ideas and I get impatient halfway through a painting. So I allow myself to have a couple going at the same time.
I was just gonna ask you that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I always have a couple going at the same time.
And sometimes when I have a lot of ideas, it's I don't really get blocked. I get the opposite. I have too many ideas and it can become paralyzing when you have too many ideas. So what I do sometimes is I'll let myself just sketch out, a half dozen paintings. I'll pull out a bunch of canvases and panels and sketch them all out. So at least I feel like, okay, I've got that idea out of my head.
Yeah,
And
so are you afraid you're gonna lose the idea if you don't get it onto something?
it's
So
not
if
so
you
much,
sketch them out,
I'm not afraid that I'm gonna lose it. I just feel like I have to get it out. You know what I mean?
gotta come out
Yeah. It's just,
till explode like Mount Vesuvius.
it like puts my brain back in order again. You know what I mean? Like my brain will get too busy with ideas, and if I can get them out that way, then I can move on. Otherwise, it's like I'm kind of like stuck with too many things going on in my head.
Plus, do you find that sometimes you feel like working on this one and sometimes you feel like working on that one? I do that. Plus, I do some different mediums, so sometimes I'll want to draw, sometimes I'll want to paint. Do you work in different mediums besides acrylics?
Um, a little bit, like I dabble in other things, but I'm 95% acrylic.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, you're really, really good at it.
oh,
So,
thank you.
yeah, you're very welcome. I haven't seen, I mean, like I said, your work looks like photographs to me. And that's okay. So, nostalgia is the emotion that drives, okay, the artwork. But are you looking for as much realism as possible?
That's a good question. It's kind of funny. When I was in college, I was doing large abstracts, total opposite to what I started
Really?
doing later. Yeah. Um, so I can't say I went looking for it. It just kind of happened. I hadn't painted in a number of years. I got back into it when my kids were little, and
Wow.
um, somebody had told me about I wanted to get back into painting. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And somebody told me that there was this art show for miniatures. And I'm like, okay, that's perfect because I had, my kids, I had to work at the kitchen table, I could work on something little that I could get done quickly. I did a couple miniatures, sent them off to the show. They all got in.
Wow.
yeah, won an award and I sold one. I'm like, okay, this is a sign. I need to get back into painting again. But what came out at that point was realistic. And I didn't really think about it. It didn't, there was no plan there.
It just happened.
It just happened. And if you look very closely at my work, what looks like realism from a distance, if you look up very closely, like, a red strawberry has got a dozen different colors in it. And if you
Oh
look
yeah.
real closely, there's blue and there's purple and there's green and there's all these different strokes of different colors in there.
Is this layered work? We talked to one artist who actually puts layer on top of layer on top of layer. Is this layered?
It pretty much is. I have to ask Tracy exactly how she works because I don't know how she does it, but
Oh my God. She's the one who does all those mason jars.
yes, it's
That is
wild.
amazing.
Her
And
work is
I
amazing.
talked to her. She says it takes her a long time to do one picture. She's working in watercolor, so she'll put a layer, or maybe she's not. Maybe
No, she
she's
works in
watering
acrylic.
acrylics.
She said she watered down acrylic.
A watered down acrylic, because I said to her, these watercolors, she said, no acrylics. And I said, why are they so thin? And she said, I watered them down. So she waters them down. So, you know, you should consider doing a demo. Put on the back burner, put on the back burner, but absolutely, totally amazed at people who just have enough patience to put layer of layer and layer. I mean, I might do a couple layers, but not like 10.
Yeah, I don't do it like Tracy does. I'm curious to see how she does that.
Yeah, yes, me too. We're trying to get her to demo that,
Would be a good
and I
demo.
think it would be really cool if you would demo yours because hers is realistic, certainly, but you're different. You have different results and stuff, and they're both awesome in their own right. Okay,
No,
so
thank you.
you have a lot of artwork. You're welcome. Do you have a piece that's your favorite?
No. I don't. I really don't. Each time I work, I won't say every piece I work on, but a lot of times when I work on a piece, I get really excited about it and I'm like, this is going to be my best one. And then when I'm done with it, I don't like it as much anymore.
You get excited about the process. I
Yeah.
do you have a pic? I have one picture. Now, I have been painting for a long time, drawing, painting. I have one picture that I don't want to sell. I just want to keep it. And I felt guilty about that because I felt, because some people have expressed it, and they're like, oh no, you can have a print, but do you have a picture like that? Not even one?
I really can't think of any I felt that way about. There's a couple my husband hasn't wanted me to sell, but
Ah, so what do you do about that? Do you keep them? Or you give them to him? Or you make them a print and say, "Oh well, honey, we got to sell this. We got to pay the electric bill."
I leave my options open. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, smart, smart, smart girl. So, okay, so favorite subject matter, signs, always. Yeah. Do you ever deviate from that?
Um, you know, my venture into food, I really enjoy when I do it. And then after a while, I don't want to do that anymore. So,
You want to go back to the
I
signs?
want to go back to the signs.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
And sometimes it's the signs, and sometimes like it's like how I showed you that picture that showed a sign and the road and things like that. Sometimes it's more of a scene and
Yeah,
a little bit more of a story. Um, Sometimes it's abandoned buildings. It's not always just like bright colored signs. So there's
yeah.
a lot in there, and to me, it's the stuff that, like you said, you never thought to paint.
Yeah,
You
yeah. When I
walk
look
by
at your
it,
stuff,
or
I'm like totally amazed. And then I'm like, what made her think to even paint something like that? You know what I
yeah.
mean? And then, of course, the more familiar became with your work, I'm like, she thinks about painting this stuff all the time.
Well,
Beautiful.
it's when I first got a studio in downtown Haverhill, and I was walking around Haverhill, and at that time there were a lot of buildings that were abandoned and in bad shape, and that kind of I walked around with my camera, not really knowing what I was going to do with those pictures, and I just became more and more interested in it, and they turned into paintings
They
slowly over
turned
time.
into
Yeah.
paintings. Ooh, ooh, I'm dropping my stuff. So, this, I think you actually already answered this question, but you never have an artist block? See, I don't get them either. And artists say they get them all the time. I don't get them primarily because of students. They're always doing all kinds of crazy things. And I go, oh, I want to do that too, you know? But do you teach? You don't teach, do you?
I don't teach.
Okay.
I tried once when my kids were in Boy or Cub Scouts, and I tried teaching a bunch of kids um,
Oh, well, that's
something for a badge or something. And I
yeah.
was awful. I was such a bad teacher. That was enough to show me that was not where my talents lie.
That's not what I tell them. I'll tell you something. Young, especially younger children, I'll take them one or two at a time. But having a whole class of them, they see me coming. You know, I make cookies, and then we turn the music on and we dance and stuff. So if, you know, the first class or two, they'll actually listen to me. After that, it's potty, you know. And I don't have any problem with everyone having a good time during art class, except the parents are paying for these art lessons and the kids are eating cookies, dancing, and telling jokes, you know? So, you know, so at this point, you know, I'm not really doing the kids' classes, but every now and then, you know, one or two comes in, especially if they're related to you. You know, oh, gee, you know, this one wants to take on, oh, of course, you know. So, but the one or two I don't have, you know, usually I can push it a little bit, but kids are unless you're just letting them do whatever the heck they want to do, you know, they can be a challenge.
Yeah,
What about
definitely.
adults?
I'm just not really good at explaining things, so I don't think I'd be really good at teaching.
Okay, well, you know, that's a valid point. Some people know a lot of stuff, but they're not real enthusiastic, or they don't feel comfortable sharing their techniques or whatever. So, you're absolutely right about that. One of my students said she took lessons from a watercolor teacher who did awesome work but couldn't explain anything. She said, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, Joan. And I said, well, that's not good.
That's kind of like what I feel like I'd be like. I mean, I'm not so good about putting it into words. I can do it, but I'm
Yeah, yeah, you sure can.
not so good
Well,
putting the
see,
words.
then a demo would be perfect. Hint, hint. Well, we don't put any pressure on you, but absolutely. So, what makes an art piece successful? Obviously, the feeling, but what makes a piece successful? Um, Contrast, feeling. What is it?
I think it's a combination of things. And having had a background in graphic design, the composition is very important to me.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and I think that's part of what happened with the signs too, was it had to do with the layout on the page, how I use the edges. Um, People say tend to be kind of unusual, and I think that comes from my graphic design background.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's color, it's composition, it's contrasts and shadows and lights, and ultimately what it gets across, the feelings, the connections that people make.
Nice.
That's sometimes you feel like you really hit that, and other times not so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, I always say, as long as you feel something, even if you go, ugh, I hate it, at least you feel something there, you know?
Yeah.
That's always nicer when they like it, of course. Okay. So again, how can people get a hold of you if they want to inquire about your work, or do you do commissions at all?
Yes, I
Oh,
do
you do.
commissions.
God love you.
Yeah, and
Those
I
are
do a
not
lot
my
of them.
favorite. Oh, you do a lot. Well, yeah, you can do them. Well, I want a cabin in the woods with water around it. And so I look at them, and even though I would love to do that, sometimes the vision I'm seeing is not the same vision they're seeing. But I
Yeah.
suppose if you have a sign and you say, I want one of these, then that's a little bit easier to translate. Yeah.
It is, that does make it easier, and that's one thing I think I've been, knock on wood, so far fairly successful at understanding what people are trying to get at. I've been able
Sure.
um, to tap into that, and a lot of times people say, "Oh my god, that's exactly what I wanted," or sometimes they don't say that, but they're happy with where it ended up.
Where it
Like
ended
they
up.
will say, "I wouldn't have thought of doing it that way." But
Really?
Yeah, but I do a lot of communication with them, and I send sketches and do every step along the way so that they're involved.
And
But
is that, how does that work out? Because are they able to visualize like the finished piece? Like sometimes if I send like sketches that say, yeah, and I want this cut and blah, 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 and this cut, and I'm like, not there yet. Wait a minute, type of thing.
yeah, I haven't had too many problems with that. I'll send a very rough sketch and I'll explain, this is a very rough sketch. Is this,
Is this
showing
what's
what
in
you
your
wanted to
mind?
show? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And then I'll do another version when I sketch it out on the canvas or on the panel, and then I'll send it again when it's partway developed, and I'll keep saying, this is rough, this isn't done.
yeah.
And so far I've been that's gone really well. I really haven't
I
run into any.
I would think so because typically, like say the drive-in and the sign and whatnot. So they and you probably have a pretty good idea about colors and kind of what this is going to look like, okay, rather than just how intuitive, in I think intuition plays a big part in absolutely everything. I meditate, I do all this good stuff. And I think when you're doing artwork, it can be very intuitive. Do you find that that's part of it?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
And I'm not, why my work looks realistic, I'm not a slave to that. I change things. And part of it is just it could be instinct or intuition or wanting things to be different. I don't feel like I have to. I'm not a slave to the realism. Let's put it that
Okay,
way.
so we could have a drive-in like on the moon with plant
Oh,
two
yeah.
two suns around it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes when people look at one of my paintings, they think that's exactly the way it was, and I may have changed things. It's not necessarily exactly the way things are.
Now, I am one of those people, when I look at your work, I say, oh, I'm sure that's exactly the way it was, because you're so down to the very last detail. So you change them up. Aha.
I can't.
I like it. I like it. Okay. All right. Is there anything else you would like to add, my dear? Anything else you want us to know about your wonderful self?
I don't think so. I think we covered
Covered
everything
it
and
all.
then some. But my website is debbieshirley.com,
Okay.
and that
And we do
links to
commission.
everything there. I do
You do
commissions.
commissions, all your artwork is there. You'll sell prints, you'll sell originals. Okay, debbieshirley.com. And also, they can see you and the rest of some of the artists, GHA artists, on the website as well.
Yes.
You're actually on the board, and tell everyone what you do on the board.
I am a communications chair, which means what do I do? I do social
There's a
media.
lot of talking. No, social media, right, right.
I
So
help with the website,
nice.
all that kind of
Yeah.
good
So
stuff.
besides being talented, you're also very smart, and we appreciate you for that. And GHA is always looking for volunteers. If you know anyone who is interested, tell them, tell them. Okay,
And
my
the
dear,
board is full of a lot of fun people, and thanks
there
to
is.
Joni, it is always fun.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, and we have the only she gets upset if I call her boss. We have a president, the only president who has board meetings at her home, poolside, and she even cooks for us.
Yes,
So we got it made. We got it
we
made.
do. We do.
Absolutely.
A lot of great people.
A lot of great people. Yeah, the board is actually small in size, so it amazes me how much gets accomplished with just kind of a handful of people, if you will.
Yes.
It's an amazing group. All right. Thank you for joining us. And, like I said, trying to kind of plant the demo seed in there. So
Well,
if you
thank you for
decide,
having me, Joni. I appreciate it.
you are most welcome, my darling. All right. We will see you, and I'll see you at the next board meeting.
Very good. Have a good night now.
Yes, you too.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.